It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 5 o'clock in New York, New York. And you know what that means? It is time for Lemon Live in the newsroom. Hey guys, welcome. We have a live subscribe button right there on the page. It's a big giant red button. Make sure you hit it. Lemon Nation waiting, Lemon Nation waiting. Let's go, let's go. We are a part of the Lemon Nation. I know you guys think I'm crazy because I am. I am so thrilled to be here with you guys. Hello, hello, hello. If you can hear me, wave, holla, tell me. I'm so happy that you're here. Make sure you hit the I prefer lemon crush. Ha ha ha. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Let's see if I can get this thing to do it. The thumbs up button, and make sure you hit you like and subscribe. Hey, good looking. Hi, good looking back. Linda Ramsey. Hello, hello. Elimination is ready for you. Mia G says, hi, Don Lemon. Howdy, howdy, says CC Ryder. Pappy says, Elimination is gathered. Not crazy, eccentric, or whatever. I thank you, thank you. It's so good to see you guys. I'm so happy that you are here and that you are tuning in. Usually more people come in. We're so glad. Well, this is our live show. Live every day from my living room. And I'm so happy that you're here. I was just, listen, there's so much going on in the world. So much is happening in my life, in everybody's lives. And, you know, I was using this as an analogy the other day, that Knicks game where they came back with like a minute left and they were out. When you're down, doesn't necessarily mean that you're out, and you never know what is going to shake out in life. So there's always hope, I believe. I believe there's always hope. There's always opportunity, no matter where you are. And this is what, when I worked in Chicago, I had this really sweet anchor lady, and her name was Allison. I forgot her name at Channel 5. If you guys remember Allison, I'm having a senior moment. Allison. It's an Italian last name, and I can't remember it. Anyways, Allison would always tell me, bloom where you're planted. And so, oh my gosh, it almost came to me. She would say, bloom where you're planted. She was at Channel 5 in Chicago. Thank you, Allison, for that. WMAQ. And, man, what was her name? What's her last name? I'm sorry. And I worked with her for years. Anyways, so she would say, bloom where you're planted. So wherever you are in life, no matter what you think is going on, no matter how you feel, it is what it is, as my mom says, and bloom where you're planted. So I hope you're having a good day. She's still on Channel 5. Yes, Allison. No. It's an Italian last name. It ends with an A. With Warner Saunders and Allison. Anyway, Google Rosati. Allison Rosati. Yes, thank you. Allison Rosati, that's her name. She is a very good anchor, a very nice woman. So say hi to Allison Rosati. If she's on social, whatever you see her, make sure you say hi to her. You can hear that my dog actually really likes Allison Rosati. So anyways, what an odd thing to pick out. But anyway, so I'm trying to bring you positivity. When you come into this community, we do the news, we talk about it, we discuss it, you get to weigh in on it. It's not just me just speaking to you guys. It is you becoming part of the community. Hi, doggies. That was actually Gus. And it's not all negativity and people trying to, just slam on people for no reason and talk about, the president is, he's cognitive and whatever. We deal in facts here. And when we talk about things that relate to Donald Trump, we talk about the truth. We give you the truth about it. We don't just, I'm showing a little too much here. We don't just, pull things out of the blue just because. Like we were having a little bit of good-natured fun at his comb over the other day. And I said, look, as a man of a certain age, I know about thinning hair, but I just didn't understand how that system, that's like a lot of work, which is true. It's got to be a lot of work. Okay, so Bridget Sweeney says, Gus in the house. Suzanne, HBCU grad, is like lemons and a doggy. Love the dog, says Miss Planet Master. Planet Master 9, I agree. And I have the dogs in here today in honor of Kristi Noem's dog, Cricket. The one she killed. The one she shot. because she didn't like the dog's behavior. Part of our discussion today. So let's get into it, shall we? Tell everybody to join us, and I'm happy that you're here today. So happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. We really have a great show for you today. The show is great today. You're going to get to talk to me. We're going to discuss everything. Okay, right. Rest in peace, Cricket. Amen. I agree with that. Rest in peace to the cute little doggy. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. So here's what we're going to talk about today. Happy Monday. So our show today, we're going to talk about the chaos on Columbia's campuses all around the country, as you know. The president of Columbia gave the protesters a deadline of 2 p.m. today. And so far, guess what? They're not complying. Protesters called her bluff. They're staying put. Who knows what could happen, and who knows what will happen this evening? This is my guess, okay? This is just my guess. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. My guess is that they bring the police officers in under the cover of darkness. They bring them in after the evening news. They get rid of all the things. The darker it is, they're probably going to push some people back and then move some media out, and on and on and on. And then, so it'll be, it'll go through the night. The cable news channels will get their go at it. The morning shows will get their go at it, and then it'll subside and something else will happen and people will be on to the Donald Trump trial tomorrow. I've been doing this a long time. That's what's going to happen. And if it was a Friday, they should have done it on Friday night, like a Friday night news dump if they were going to do it. They didn't. So that I believe that that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong, but stay tuned. Make sure you stay tuned for what happens this evening. Keep your eye out for an alert on what happens, especially at Columbia. Okay? In addition to all of this campus craziness, we've got some other crazy things we're going to talk about. The GOP craziness, as by the way, we just mentioned. The puppy killer, who is Kristi Noem. Now, she just didn't kill a dog. She killed a 14-month-old dog, which is essentially a puppy. Okay? Killed a dog. It is a crazy, bonkers story. She's getting backlash. I even think that folks over on Fox News have turned against her. That's what I hear. Do some checking. If you guys have seen any of that, let me know. But that's what I hear. I hear even they have turned on her. So we're going to discuss that, what that means for the possibility. This is the South Dakota governor. What that means for her VP pick possibilities, because she is supposedly on the short list. I was going to say not on the short other thing. You guys know, but I'm not going to go there. And finally, we're going to wrap the hour. We're going to talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Did you watch over the weekend? We discussed it a little bit yesterday. I gave you my assessment of what was happening. Oh, yeah, you're right. J9CM and some horses, yes. And a goat, yes. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic. I guess you can call her an animal killer. She is. She killed animals. So that's what it is. Okay? DJT doesn't like dogs either. That's according to Alarasia. Okay. PZERW says, yes, I loved it, meaning the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I did not watch much of it. I've only seen clips, okay? Winky Campbell says, hi, Lemonheads. I heard Rabbit Killer as well, says Mrs. KH. I have not heard that, but maybe it is in her book. I heard she's got a new book coming out. So let's start with the campus, college, madness, craziness, okay? A lot to talk about today. And we'll probably get some Trump news in as well. And if there is some breaking news, if so happens that they start kicking these folks out of Columbia, start getting rid of these tents. Remember, they erected all of these tents. It's an encampment, right? There's like a whole new little city happening on campus, a whole new group of buildings, temporary buildings. So there you go, okay? So this morning, Columbia issued notices to students in the Gaza Solidarity Encampment that they will be suspended if they don't clear out hours after the school's president said it will not divest from Israel. That is a demand that has sparked protests to college campuses all across this country. But Manoush Shafiq, who is the president of Columbia, says we're not going to divest. We're going to continue to do what we're doing. We're not going to let you students dictate what we do as readers and as a university. Get your studies in, get your degree, do what you have to do. You have the right to protest, but this protest has gone too far, according to Manoush Shafiq, the president, and I'm sure other people. She's under a lot of pressure, you know. Can you imagine that? You're the president of the university. Here's a dilemma, okay? Riddle me this. Go with me here. Sicily, 19 notes. You guys know what that is, right? That's the Golden Girls. So riddle me this, okay? You're the president of the university. You want students to learn. You want it to be an incubator. You want it to be a gigantic classroom. You want them to learn to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights of freedom of expression. You want them to be able to form their own opinions and to think critically about ideas and situations and what have you. Okay? By the way, what have you? I say that a lot. I notice that like my little go-to saying. I also have a friend that goes da-da-da-da-da. That's his thing. And then sometimes I'll go yada, 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 which started since Seinfeld. But my thing is, and what have you. I'm going to try to break that. So, and then on the other hand, you're under pressure because your job is on the line, because people think you're not protecting the students, that there's anti-Semitism going on. And also that it gives people the idea, it looks like you're not in control. So she has to walk this tightrope. I'm in control. I'm allowing students to be free. I'm allowing them to do what they have to do. I'm allowing them to learn, to expand their minds. I'm giving them a wide berth. But I'm getting pressure from the university, from the stakeholders in the university, the donors at the university. Hey, we're going to pull our money if you don't get your act together, if you don't stop this stuff. That's what's happening. Janice Brown, thank you very much for supporting independent media. Janice, and if you do decide to support independent media, give me a comment. I want to hear what you have to say, okay? Oh, wow. Timothy Malone. I don't know who that is. Timothy Malone is in the comments and he goes, let's get Don to 140. Yeah, get me to 140, guys. Come on, you can do that. What are we at, 132 now? Can we do a goal? Like we can do a drive. We can offer incentives or something for whoever. I wish we could figure out whoever could sign up the most subscribers. Call your friends and get them to subscribe. Tell your coworkers to subscribe. Send them a link to the show and say, subscribe to this show. You need to watch it. Come on, do that for the Elimination now. We want as many people as possible to be a part of the Elimination. Bridget Sweeney says, Tim in the house. Tim in the house. Drunken Monkey says, back to class, slackers. Interesting. Here's what Hamilton says. Let me read this. I lost Hamilton's thing for a little bit, but I'm going to go back until I find it because I think Hamilton makes an extremely good point. But here it is. Hamilton says, Hamilton anchor, there's an anchor on it. Jay Edelson and Kerry Goldberg attorneys filed a class action lawsuit against Columbia to keep students safe today. Interesting. Moderators, look that up for me. Jay Edelson and Kerry Goldberg attorneys filed a class action lawsuit against Columbia to keep students safe today. Thank you very much for that, Hamilton. I appreciate it. Chris says, talking to him earlier, I'll take it. It's regarding the investments of the school's endowment. Was responding to someone there. So make sure you hit the thumbs up. All right, hit the subscribe button. There's a live subscribe button. It's a big red button. It's right there on your screen. So Dinah Sandoval says, one person cannot stop what's going on in the world. I don't understand why they are taking it out on the Jews. I feel for both sides. I think most people do. But in this world where everything is sort of, you have to choose sides. Everything is binary. Like, okay, I got to pick this side. I got to pick this side. I understand that you can hold two thoughts. You can have empathy for the people who are in Gaza, the innocent victims. You can hate Hamas. You can also support Jewish people. You can also have questions for the Israeli government and still support Jewish people, right? We must remember that all of this started because, at least this round of it, right? And there's obviously, I know there's a history here and more goes into it, but essentially because of what happened on October 7th, because so many people were killed, because there are still hostages, right? So that is why this is all going on. But, and then Israel's response. Many people think that it's not proportionate, that it is too much. So again, that's what's happening here. So the university told student demonstrators to vacate by 2 p.m. or else be suspended pending further investigation and barred from completing the spring semester. So if they did not divest from the quad or whatever, if they did not get out take those tents down, get rid of the camp, if they didn't do that, they could face suspension pending further investigation, and then they wouldn't complete the spring semester, which means they'd have to somehow make it up, which means they'd have to maybe go to summer school, which means that they would be put behind. Maybe some of them have job opportunities already. Maybe some of them have internships already, and on and on and on. By the way, we need to find our intern here. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so here's what I want to know. Here's my question for the audience as I tell you guys all about this, okay? Should Columbia arrest and suspend hundreds of students still protesting? Should Columbia arrest and suspend hundreds of students still protesting? And wait. It's very simple. Should they send in the police? That's what I think. Should they send in the police to get rid of this, to get rid of Tent City? That's what I want to know. Should they suspend the police? So the university notices ask protesters to identify themselves to the university official to sign a form agreeing to an alternative resolution for the university policy violations that the encampment posed. Those who signed are eligible to complete the semester in good standing and will not be placed on suspension if they adhere to obeying university policies. Those who don't vacate by 2 p.m. would be suspended. The threat has not deterred campus protesters, though, and encampment participants voted nearly unanimously to stay put. So they're saying we're not going anywhere. They voted unanimously to stay put. Prior to 2 p.m., a group of several hundred students and faculty members formed a circle around the Gaza Solidarity encampment. It remains unclear what will happen. Students are vowing to protest all night long. Will Columbia call in the police department, NYPD, once again to forcibly remove those protesters? Will the university follow through on that threat? That is what's in consideration now. There have been a number of arrests nationwide. Since this all started, nationwide arrests for students and people there have approached 900 since the New York police removed the pro-Palestinian encampment at Columbia University and arrested more than 100 demonstrators. That was on April 18th. Here is the interesting thing, though. Remember I said that people were giving the students a benefit of the doubt? I did as well. I said, look, when I went out to NYU the other day, I didn't see any violence. I only saw peaceful protesters, right? I saw even a lot of Jewish students. I saw Jewish professors. I even interviewed some of them. But now with some of the video and the evidence coming out, it appears to be it appears to be a lot of it, not all of it, lending itself to hate speech, saying I am Hamas, and other things, right? Talking about the intifada. I don't know. The video coming in is disturbing. Some of the accounts are disturbing coming in. So it seems a tide is turning on these protests. 2 weeks ago, I would have said people had a lot more patience with them. And I think you might agree with that. That seems to have disappeared. I'm just wondering why you think that. So I had a conversation this weekend with Scott Galloway and with Bill Maher. Bill Maher devoted a lot of the show, his opening remarks, to the protesters who are out there. And then he did the new rules where he talked about it. And then in the middle of it, he also talked about it where he said in his books that did not last long or something, or that didn't last long. So he devoted a lot of attention and a lot of airtime to these college campuses. Scott Galloway believes that if it was any other minority group on campus who were facing this kind of scrutiny, this kind of rhetoric, this kind of potential for violence, that the National Guard would be sent in. Now, I don't know if the National Guard would be sent in, but I think there would be a sort of a universal outrage by people. Can you imagine if it were African Americans out there, or if it was Latinos or Asians or women, that they were saying, anti-women things, anti-Black things, anti-Hispanic things, if they were doing that, even if it was people who, were saying Islamophobic things. I think there would be much more outrage around it. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong. You're free to disagree with me. Okay. Someone says, round 2 says an online video shows a leader of a white supremacist group on a campus watching the violence. Cindy Turley says Scott is right. I wonder what the white supremacist group is doing out there. Do you think they're helping to promote some of these things? Do you think they're instigating? There are also people have questioned the uniformity of all of these tents. They believe that some group, someone is funding them, something is behind it. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but all the tents are kind of from the same company. I don't know if they all went to the same Home Depot or what have you. I don't know. Sanguine Sophomore says, Sovereign Sign says, Scott Galloway. I thought that was Scott Adams. That's someone else. I don't know who Scott Adams is. Totally agree about the tents, said Michael Riley. Yeah, isn't that interesting that they were all sort of the same thing? Interesting. Rizwan Khan says, being anti-children massacre and starvation is not hate speech. Okay. Tezetta says, yes, green and beige tents. Rose Ann Patterson says, adding fuel to the fire. Lonnie Moore says, glad you're back. So let's look at the polls here. Let's look at the polls, right? And this is when folks really start coming in. It takes about 20 minutes to build an audience. That's what I learned from Ben Mycelis. He says it takes about 20 minutes for the audience to build when you're doing live. So make sure you hit the like button. If you hit the like button, did we put the poll up yet? Yeah. The poll is up. Oh, here we go. Should Columbia send in police to get rid of the tent city? 47% of you say yes. 53% say no. 53% say no. Why do you say no? Why shouldn't Columbia act on its ability, I don't want to say right, but I think they have the right to remove the protesters? Why shouldn't they? Or why should they? That's what I would like to know. Nizgard says, both sides are horrible, to be honest, killing civilians, both of them. Chris says it's their First Amendment. Your local 41, I don't know all of your things, says, Emory made me say no. Okay. Mary Williamson says, love Scott Galloway with you, Don. Thank you very much. Scott Galloway is, by the way, our show that we do every day in studio. So check Scott Galloway. Actually, we did it from here. But anyway, it's our produced show. Check it out. It's up now. I want to know what you think about it and make sure you watch it after you watch this show. Sharon Culpepper says it's freedom of speech. Sarah Rubin says they are breaking the rules of their community. That's why they need to go to jail. Toro Verde says leave them alone because they are correct. Interesting. Why I want to have this discussion with you. Why can't we have this discussion? I want to know how you feel about this. Whether you're pro the protest or you're anti the protest, whatever you feel about the war, that's why we have a community. Because we want people to be able to discuss all of this. Okay? That's what I want to know. Terrell Dunn says two things. The potential for violence is not violence. The potential for violence is not violence. Also, as you said earlier, typically the chaos begins when the police try to disperse people, exercising their right to peacefully protest. Now, I have to be honest, many of the videos I see, much of the reports that I hear on social media and from people who are out there when I hear the sound bites is that it did not become violent or unruly until the police showed up. The police start pushing people out, then the pushing starts, then the protesters start fighting back, whatever. Now, we do see incidents of people getting yelled at anti-Semitic things being said, people being pushed out, and on and on. I do see incidences of that. But for the big violence and pushing and shoving that you see, that usually happens when the police show up. I'm just being honest. Okay? So Malik Williams says, your career has always invited conversation to resolve differences, Mr. Lemon. Again, proving the point to conduct town hall type of discussion. I agree. Thank you very much. Roger McKee says, speculation isn't helpful, and I heard it isn't either. Only facts. Protesting is not wrong. Protesting is not wrong. Joan Leslie says, do you think the occupants of Tent City are there for peaceful protests? I don't know. I'm not out there. I need to go out there, and I may do it this evening. I may go and see what's going on because we know that there's a potential of violence, okay? Whenever they try to make someone forcibly remove people. Grace R says, saw you on Bill Maher, great show. Thank you, Grace. I really appreciate it. KG says, about the anti-Semitism tag, it's not anti-Semitism, it's anti-Zionism. PK Harris says, they are called camera hogs. Interesting. So it's a tough situation because people, I know this is to do. So should Colombia send the police to get rid of the tent city? 47% say yes, 53% say no. It is close, but the majority of people say no. I would imagine you believe it's because of that. James Jamila says, lost the stream. James, everybody else is still on. You may want to refresh. Okay. So we're still here. Pal Bunyan says, power to the people. Chris Smith says, can't they protest off campus? Yeah, but what good is that going to do? They could. Round 2 says, that's why Dr. King organized sit-ins to avoid all of the pushing. Okay. So this is what I want to know. I want you guys to get into this because I think that people aren't really saying how they feel. They're walking on eggshells. If you are pro Israel, if you are leaning in that direction, most people are upset. They think like, hey, this is crazy. Why are we being subjected to this? Why do we have to face such rhetoric? We should not be uncomfortable at a school where we're supposed to be safe. Our school is not keeping us safe. This is happening to Gaza for a reason because of October 7th. That's how they feel. Now, if you're a Palestinian supporter, of course, you're going to say this is over. I hate to say overkill. I don't mean that. No pun intended. The response is not proportional. That Israel should be more targeted in its reaction and its response. That they are killing innocent people, killing innocent children, innocent families. And then again, the other side said, well, it is Hamas. Hamas put them in this situation. Hamas is using people as human shields. It's complicated. The truth is, as other folks will tell you, this has been happening for a long time in that region. Obviously, there was not an October 7th, but there's been unrest. There have been disagreements. They have been fighting and warring, and there are different factions in this region for decades. And why does everyone think it's going to be solved now? And quite frankly, people, if we're being honest, a lot of people say, why on earth is America getting pulled into this? Why do I have to deal with this? I don't live in Israel. I don't live in Gaza. I don't live in Iran. I don't live anywhere there. Why are we getting pulled into this mess? We don't want to be pulled into this mess. Let them deal with their own things. Come on, let's be honest. If you're not hearing that. Now, I know that there are perfectly legitimate answers. They will tell you that just as people say it is important to protect Ukraine, it is important to protect others who are allies and who believe in democracy, that Israel must be protected because it is one of our biggest allies. That's what the answer is going to be. But quite frankly, what I hear from many people is like, I don't want to get pulled into a broader war. Let them solve their issues themselves. That America is always getting dragged into other people's issues. We can't afford even for things that happen here in the United States. We're not getting billions and billions of dollars of aid and funds, and we are American citizens. We live on American soil. Why are we sending that money to them? Why are we sending that money to Ukraine? Why are we sending it to Taiwan? Come on, let's be honest. You know, people are saying that. I hear it all the time. But it's more complicated. It's not that simple. This is a more nuanced discussion where you have to have this discussion. And we pay for everything, says round 2. And we have to pay for everything, right? Kateme says no boots on the ground. Glenn Hanna says Jews going to school at the U.S. college campuses are not deserving of hate speech. Okay? Rose Blake says cancel graduation and send deserving diplomas in the mail. Interesting. Joe Ellie says, do we need to be the leader? Antoinette B says, are the hostages still alive? That's a great question. That's a great question. Bernie C says, invite Bill to your living room. Okay. And Dreulan says, I believe that Putin pulled Hamas's strings. Ooh la la says, I think Palestinians should express if they agreed with Hamas. Johnny Paul Tutaki says, buying influence abroad. That's what I want to know. It's not just, it's bigger than college campuses. Remember, while we're focusing on college campuses, and that's very important, the war is still going on. And I do believe, while we can walk and chew gum at the same time, that it's some of this diverts attention from the more important impetus, the more important thing that started this, where the deaths are actually happening. And that's in the region. Of course, we should be covering what's happening on college campuses, but we have to remember, can we talk about proportionality in all of this? Can we talk about proportionality as we are covering these things? To be honest, again, this is awful. My Jewish brothers and sisters should not have to face the anti-Semitism that is happening. But there are, if you can go and do a survey every single day on a college campus, I'm not going to lie, there are protests of some sort every single day on college campuses, plural, in America. Every day that we don't hear about. There are protests in almost every city somewhere happening, whether it's a union protest, the writer strike, the UAW. There's always a protest somewhere, right? And we don't always cover them. It depends on, we decide, and the media decide what they want to focus on. Peace and love, not war. I believe that, Linda Ramsey. Amen. So I'm just saying, not that this is not deserving of attention. I'm just saying a sense of proportionality. It's awful. I hope no one gets hurt or no one dies on these college campuses. God forbid, God forbid, God forbid. Especially. So here's the thing. I have some new information here. If you can put it in the file, I would like to see it, because there's some new information happening on Columbia. It has to do with suspensions. And so I want you guys to know about it. So I'm going to put it in there in just a minute. So anyway, we have some breaking news. I'm not sure if it's in my particular text messages, but let me know. So we have some breaking news, okay? We have some breaking news. And we're going to get to the breaking news in just a bit as soon as I get it here. But because when it is on my phone here, I lose the background. So here we go. So we're dealing with Columbia standoff. We're dealing with the Columbia standoff, and we're dealing with the breaking news. We're dealing with the breaking news. And I need to refresh my thing here. And here we go. Let's see. The breaking news here, which I cannot get because someone sent me a link, and the link does not work in the thing, but I will put it in and see what happens, exactly what the breaking news is. So bear with me here. Okay, guys? I appreciate you bearing with me. Here's the thing. All right, let's see. So here's what it says. Columbia University announced that they have officially started suspending students who defied the 2 p.m. dispersal deadline. And I'm looking at a picture now of the university from the chopper. So they have officially started, they've announced that they have started suspending students who defy the 2 p.m. dispersal deadline. So what they will do is they'll figure out who it is. They know who these students are. Then maybe they go in and get their IDs. Maybe they just know who they are. And they say, you're suspended because you did not comply. Okay? So that's what's happening. They officially have started suspending students. Now, here's the thing. What happens next with all of this? What happens next with all of this will be they are going in, they're going to go in, and they're going to start removing these students. That is what's going to happen. They're going to go in, and cops are going to say, get out. They're going to start knocking down the tents, and then we'll see if there's any violence. Let's hope not. I'm hoping that there's no violence. So my thing is, as I said, should they send in the police? The next thing is, if you guys can tell me, do you think that they should be suspending these students, even if they don't send in the police? Should Columbia arrest and suspend hundreds of students still protesting? That is a new poll, okay? That's what I would like to know, all right? So Ms. Lisa says, this is horrible. This is horrible. That's what Ms. Lisa says. Karma's Chaos says they should suspend students who don't comply. They can protest just as easy without encampments. LJ says the students didn't participate couldn't get through the crowd to get into classes and use the library, and were being yelled that Jews were the reason Jews were not seasoned. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Okay. Special for listening to all of this news. Thank you, Soon. I appreciate it. Pro-human being, pro-peace, pro-ceasefire, anti-violence, anti-war, anti-BB, says C Magic. So they've begun to start suspending these students. I hate to see any student suspended, but you do have the right to protest. But if you are breaking the law in any way, Columbia does reserve the right to be able to what? Take whatever they have to do. Yes, suspend them, says Sharon Medeiros. Yes, they believe. Anybody believe they shouldn't? Cassandra Kapernica says the students were legally, peacefully protesting. The faculty suspended them so they could be arrested by the police. This is shameful. D038 says no arrest. Howie Z says no arrest record for a protest. Tech Guy 32 says FAFO. Okay. Oh boy, no to the suspensions. I support, says Race Shifters. Wow, here we are. Arrest the bum, says Tech Guy 32. So Columbia has gone in and they've started arresting students. Should Columbia arrest and suspend hundreds of students still protesting? 370, almost 400 of you have voted. And you say 42% say yes, 58% say no. It is very similar to the other poll that we did. Should they send in the police? It's very close. Should they start suspending and arresting students? No. No arrest or suspensions, say Ms. May. Vicki Andrews says no suspensions. If they fail their classes, that's a consequence they choose. Hamilton says, in my humble opinion, or IMHO, the protesters are not all students. Not all students. Tell them to go to school, says John Dooley. Man, I think this is gonna be a mess. I'm hoping that it's not. I have my fingers crossed, but I'm thinking that this is going to be a mess. However you feel about it in the comments, no arrest, no suspension, as long as peaceful, says Irina. Just let them get behind in classes, says Bernice Cruz. Oh boy, I hate that. I want to continue to hear what you have to say about this. We're going to move on because I want to talk about other things. But there is some breaking news. There's breaking news in the Columbia standoff. That is our breaking news today. There has been movement. There has been movement there. Wow, the comments are coming in fast and furiously. Race Shifter says, I am real Indigenous Canadian. We stand with Palestine. Peaceful demonstrations should always be allowed in a democracy. Daniel Newman says, Hamas is recruiting them to replace what they lost is the risk. Gilbert Marino says, God willing, it won't be, meaning unrest, meaning violence. Can we please slow down the chat? Thank you, says Zen Soul. Well, I mean, look, I can't slow down the chat. This is interactive. Columbia is not a public venue, says Tom Kruk. I want to hear from people. Thank you very much. It's 5:40, great time to hit the thumbs up. That's according to me. It's in the thing. Break the law, break the rules. You need to pay for that, says Jungle Jane. So I want to know. It says it is in slow mode already, says round two. It's in slow mode. We're in slow mode. A lot of you are remember Kent State, says Wanda Nevins. Yes, we don't want that. We don't want that. Slow mode, please. I think we're in slow mode. It's already slowed down, guys. You just have so many people who are in the chats and who feel a certain kind of way about the story that they are sending texts every second, faster. Don, you're awesome. Thank you, John Dooley. As we talk about that, if that's still on your mind, you keep talking about it, and I'll keep reading your responses. And also make sure you go to the poll and vote. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, okay? Let's talk about Kristi Noem. As I have my dogs in the room today who are sleeping quietly on the couch, even Gus, who's usually the rowdiest, Kristi Noem and her dog. And other animals that we're going to discuss, okay? Because this story is just really shocking to me. Does she really, really think that this was going to help her? Did she actually think it was a good idea to put this in a book? Why would you put in the book that you shot a dog in the head? I don't understand that from Kristi Noem. Let me give you a little history lesson, right? Because we know about dogs. You do not mess with dogs. You don't mess with children. You do not mess with dogs, and you do not mess with children. And I believe you don't mess with old people, right? You don't mess with dogs. You don't mess with children. A short history lesson for you, okay? Gather around your computer, your phone, or your TV. Did you know that in 1952, as a Republican candidate for vice president, Richard Nixon was criticized for admitting he received a dog as a political gift? People were like, a gift? A dog is a gift? Was criticized for that. Now, do you guys, I'm old enough to remember. I remember Richard Nixon, but I don't remember the criticism for receiving a dog as a political gift. But I'm old enough to remember 2012. Do you guys remember 2012? Do you remember the Mitt Romney controversy? Do you remember the Romney controversy with the dog? Mitt Romney was ruthlessly attacked for tying a dog to the roof of the family car for a cross-country trip. Do you remember he said that? They were going on a cross-country trip. They tied the dog to the roof of the car. People were outraged. I believe that, and the binders full of women comment really helped him. He was ruthlessly attacked for saying that. But here we go. In 2024, Kristi Noem, who is a strong contender to be named the VP pick for Donald Trump, she has managed to go even further. She is the South Dakota governor. She admitted that she killed a dog, her own dog. Her dog's name was Cricket. This is in honor of Cricket, okay? This is in honor of Cricket. She admitted that she killed her dog. It was a wire hair pointer, about 14 months old. The South Dakota governor writes in her new book, adding that the dog, a female, had an aggressive personality. It needed to be trained to be used as hunting pheasant. What unfolds over the next few pages shows really how the effort that really went into it and what went wrong indeed. And remarkably, how Cricket was not the only domestic animal that Noem chose to kill one day in hunting season. She killed more than the dog. Now, I know things happen on farms that you don't want to hear about, and most people don't really know how the sausage is made, right? It's awful. But there are other things that she can do. People are saying that she made a difficult choice. That's what she said. I think she took, for her, what was the easy way out. She could have had the dog euthanized. I would prefer that not to happen. She could have rehomed the dog, meaning she could have taken it to a dog shelter or found another owner for the dog. She could have had the dog trained. Maybe it wasn't a pheasant dog, right? Maybe it was, it wasn't meant for hunt. Maybe she could have trained for something else. To just take it to the gravel pit somewhere on the property and shoot it, I think was the cowardly way out. It was the most inhumane way to shoot the dog. It was the laziest option, as someone just scrolled by on the chat. I believe that to be true. This wasn't the only thing that she killed on that day. This is her book that comes out. I'm not even going to give the name of it. It's going to be published in the U.S. next month. The Guardian, however, obtained a copy. Like other aspirants to be Trump's second vice president who have ventured into print, Noem offers readers a mixture of autobiography, policy prescriptions, political invective aimed at the Democrats, other enemies, and raw material for speeches on the campaign stump. She includes her story about an ill-fated Cricket that she says was to illustrate her willingness in politics. So she was using the dog, as a political clout, as an example of politics. Using the dogs to say that she would do anything difficult, messy, and ugly in politics if it simply needs to be done. I know you guys are dog lovers out there. Let me know what you think. Some of you might agree with it. I don't. This is what she said. She talked about how she took the dog out for the pheasant run, and she was trying to to train it. The dog went off, she said, having the time of its life, went out of its mind with excitement, chasing all the birds, all those birds, and having the time of its life. I hated that dog. That's a quote. Again, this is according to The Guardian. She writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself untrainable, dangerous to anyone who came in contact with it, and less than worthless as a hunting dog. She said, at the moment, I realized I had to put her down. She also represented her state in Congress for 8 years. She got her gun, then led Cricket to the gravel pit and shot it. It was not a pleasant job, she writes, but it had to be done. And after it was over, I realized another unpleasant job needed to be done. That's when she went and killed other animals, okay? So is Noem, is she deliberately, you think, trying to sabotage herself in the Veep stakes? Or do you think that she thought that she was making herself seem strong by writing this crap? That's what I want to know. Who on earth, why would anyone on earth think that it was a good idea to put that in a book? Listen, I know people say things all the time that they didn't mean. Listen, trust me, I know about that. You say things, it comes out of context, the wrong thing comes out of your mouth. You're like, what am I saying? You want to pull it back. I get that. But she wrote that in a book. And if she wrote that in a book, a publisher approved it. Her people approved it. It went by a lot of different eyes, and still it made it into a book. Now, does she actually think that this was making her seem strong? That's what I want to know. Or did she just not want to be the VP and said, I'm going to put this in the book because I don't want to do that? I don't think that's it. I actually think that she thought this made her seem strong and like she's powerful. And as she said, I will do anything in politics that needs to be done, whether it's hard or not. She is showing who she is, Don. That's what AMT says. I believe she thought she was strong, okay? I believe. On Friday, when this news came out, her depiction or description of killing a dog, and then she said she was killing a goat. And this is what Barack Obama advisor turned podcaster Tommy Vidor says, calling the governor Jeffrey Dahmer with veneers. Remember, she had that, you know who Jeffrey Dahmer was, and she had that weird thing with her veneers that she posted pictures of her gums or whatever. It was just bizarre. This is all just bizarre. Rick Wilson and his anti-Trump Lincoln Project called Noem deliberately cruel and trash. Ryan Bussey, the Democratic candidate for governor of Montana, said, anyone who has ever owned a bird dog knows how disgusting, lazy, and evil this is. Damn. That's what he said. She also said, this is a screen grab of the Guardian's report, that there's an admission that she recently put down 3 horses. Okay, I don't know if the horses were in pain or whatever. I understand that. But look, that's different. Is if an animal is in pain and they are suffering, that's a whole nother show. People will sadly have their dogs euthanized, and it is the hardest thing. It is the hardest thing when you have to put your dog down because you're putting an animal and a dog out of its misery. That is a whole other show. But because a dog or an animal is not behaving in the way that you want it to behave, that's narcissistic and it's cruel. So I'm going to shoot you in the head because you're not behaving the way I want you to behave. Because what I think that you should be good for in life, the mission that I have for you in life, does not line up with the mission that you have. To this poor little doggy, that the chickens and the pheasant or whatever, it may just be a toy to them. They don't know the difference between the real thing or not. Like, they just don't know. Right? They just don't know. It left a lot of people gasping. The governor also said in her book, more real, honest, and politically incorrect stories that'll have the media gasping. That's what she said about her book. Okay? Here's the thing. I asked in a poll, do you think, the other poll is still up there, do you think that she is doing this because she thinks it's good, or is she doing it because she doesn't want to be VP anymore? I don't know. It seems like a crazy notion to me. Okay? All right. So make sure you hit the thumbs up. We discussed the encampments. We've discussed that. And now I want to move on and finish what we're going to talk about. And that is the White House Correspondents' Dinner in the moments that we have left. Did you guys watch? I talked a little bit about it yesterday. Let me read some of what you're saying about the dog, and then I'll get to the White House Correspondents' dinner. Winky Campbell says puppies need to be trained, period. Okay. Cindy Terry says, I just spent $4,000 with my 14-year-old rescue beagle to save her life. I mean, I'm telling you, people do anything to save their family members. Her base does not know how disgusting and evil her behavior is, says Leslie B. Stars in R says, trying to look strong but fail badly. She's not done disciplining herself, and let alone have a disciplined dog. Howie Z says, that is according to Bernice Cruz. Howie Z says, maybe she is lying about it for attention. I don't know what she's doing. By the way, you guys, thank you, because I'm gonna get the sheet and I will read it tomorrow. But there are viewers. I got a notice that a viewer, I think in Vermont, I forget her name, made a donation to the Southampton Animal Shelter on our behalf. We really appreciate it. That's our love for animals. Sarah Lely, so thank you very much for that. Sarah Lely says, I wish I had cricket. I know, a lot of people would have taken cricket. Roz Daniel Janty Ratliff says, respect, Don and Tim. Give thanks for the innovative orange outline. So let's talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner, okay? Because the current president, I think, did a good job, all right? Of course, the 2024 election is in full swing, and yes, age is an issue. President says, I am a grown man running against a 6-year-old, Biden said, referring to the former president, Donald Trump, whom he calls Sleepy Joe. I've had a great stretch since the State of the Union, but Donald has had a few rough days lately, Biden said. You might call it stormy weather. That was good. Dark Brandon. Okay, so Colin Jost was the comedian or the headliner for the evening. He is not a stand-up comedian. He's more a comedy writer. He does like one-liners for Saturday Night Live. He's a sketch writer. Colin Jost on Saturday Night Live also addressed Trump's legal troubles, beginning his set with, can we just acknowledge how refreshing it is to see a president of the United States at an event that doesn't begin with the bailiff saying, all rise? Pretty funny. Jost also mocked the age of both candidates, saying, I'm not saying both candidates are old, but Jimmy Carter is out there thinking, I could maybe win this thing. Trump has had a long and complicated history with the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Remember in 2012 when he was mocked by President Obama? Many people say that was the impetus for him to jump into the election. I believe that it is. I would give you a poll, but I know that it is because after covering this, the former President Trump so much. Remember, I started doing national politics, well, back in when I worked for NBC News back in 2001, 2002, 2003, however long I was there. And then I went back to Chicago and local news. So I was covering Bush then. And then I got to CNN. I started covering Bush the second term. And then Barack Obama, both terms. And then all of Donald Trump's term, and then the beginning of the Biden administration. So I've covered a lot of presidents as you listen to my dogs are getting ready to eat. Okay, so this is the joke. The Obama was saying, he says, you didn't blame, he's talking about his role as the apprentice, celebrity apprentice, where he's poking fun of the baseless false birther conspiracy that Donald Trump started. He says, you didn't blame Lil Jon or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey, Obama said, joking about Trump's experience with difficult situations. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep you up at night. So many have speculated that's why Obama got into the race. I know that is one of the reasons he got into the race, because that's what happened. So anyways, guys, we're going to pay close attention to what's happening in Colombia. Oh, let me finish this. So I believe when you have conservative media basically believing you that the current President Biden can't put two sentences together, that he can't walk, he can't talk, he can't do any of this, I actually think that they are helping him because, oh, fireworks. See, it agrees with me. I actually believe fireworks on the screen, for those of you just listening and can't see. I believe they're helping him because they have set the expectations so low. And if he does an okay job, or even if he hits it out of the park, it just makes Joe Biden look better. When he does the State of the Union and he does a great thing. When he does the White House Correspondents' Dinner and he is fun and on it. By the way, I say by the way a lot. Did you listen to the Howard Stern interview? I thought it was a great interview. I enjoyed the contrast of him on Howard Stern show being respectful, being with it, being kind, talking about, the tragedies he's had with his family, talking about how he met the current First Lady, Jill Biden. I just thought he seemed like a nice man and a gentleman and someone who believes in democracy, okay? And then contrast that to Donald Trump on the Howard Stern show, talking about women, in degrading terms and being flippant and talking about his daughter, Ivanka. And I mean, just the crass things that he said on the show. The contrast to me was just unbelievable. Actually, it was believable, but it put into perspective the two different personality types, the two different types of people, one who's a very respectful gentleman, who they like to make up stuff about and call him names. And the other is just someone who says and does the most awful things and has the most awful behavior, grab him by the pee. When you're a star, they let you do anything. Just locker room talk. Doesn't believe in democracy. So I say all of that for you to keep in mind that we are fighting for democracy. That's what's at stake here. So we will fight for democracy all the time on this venue. Howard is the best, says Jay Rose. I haven't listened to Howard in a while. I used to listen to all the time. I haven't had the opportunity to. Michael Riley says, Stern rocks with Biden. Don't forget what happened with Michael Vick, says one person, when it comes to dog. Trump talking nasty about his own daughter, gross, says Kyoko. Yes, it's terrible. Don, who cares about a dead dog? The life bro says, okay, well, I do. And a lot of people do, okay? Biden is responsible, respectful man, says R1133 Rocco. Thank you guys for joining today. I appreciate it. Keep an eye on what's happening at Columbia and also other things across the country. Tomorrow, Donald Trump is back in front of a jury. If there is breaking news on Columbia, I'm going to come back live, okay? I hope that's okay with you guys. And we'll send out a notice that I am live. And I want you to come join if that does happen, okay? Hug your dogs. Go feed them. Go spend time with your loved ones. I'm glad that we're here in the community and we can talk about the news, and it doesn't have to be all negative and scary and, terror-ridden, okay? How do we end every day? How do we end every day? What do we sing? What do we sing? Lemonation. I want to see who says it first. Enjoy your evening. We are a part, what? Who's going to set it? By Lemonheads. We are a part of the Lemon Nation.